Hey there, I'm Lance and I'm a gamer.
And I'm Sam, and I'm a
And
non-gamer.
we are Love to Hate, where we help gamers find great games to play with non-gamers.
And today we're taking a look at Big Sur by 25th Century Games.
Real quick before we get into Big Sur, I want to talk to you first about the shirt that I'm wearing from Into the AM. Into the AM was kind enough to send me some shirts to wear in some of our videos here, including the one that I'm wearing right now. And if you don't know about Into the AM, you need to check out the link down below in the description of this video where it will save you 10% from anything that you buy on their store using our special discount code LOVETOHATE. Now, Into the AM makes fantastic, high quality men's clothing, such as this shirt that I'm wearing. They call it their basic shirt because it's just a basic shirt with no graphic labeling on it, save for this little logo right here. But man, these shirts are really, really nice. This one in particular, I told Sam just a little while ago, this may be my new favorite shirt. I really like this shirt. I like the quality. I like the fit, the cut, everything about it is really nice. So again, go down in the description, check out that link, check out their website, and save you some money on the clothes that they have to offer. Now let's talk about Big Sur. This is a card game from designer Mondo Davis. It is beautifully illustrated by illustrator Tristan Rosen. And this is a game that is coming to crowdfunding here in the very near future. So you'll want to check out the link down below in the description of this video after you watch it. Now what you have here with this game, you are tasked with creating the very famous highway in Big Sur, California. That's very scenic. Lots of different landscapes that you're going to be passing and traversing as you design the Big Sur Highway here. And how this game's going to work, you're going to be drafting cards out of a market and lining them up in your highway and managing your resources very wisely in order to do this. And this is kind of a pattern matching game as you want to try to get your cards lined up in a certain way to score the most points. Let's go down to the table where I'll show you how this one works, and then we'll come back and share our thoughts on it as a gamer and non-gamer. All right, I have Big Sur on the table. Let me show you about this card game, tableau builder, card drafting game. Now, I do want to make sure you understand that everything you see here is prototype, so the final artwork components, maybe even some of the rules might change once it's released from crowdfunding. That being said, what you have here with this game, it is a card game, so you've got lots of cards. You're going to have your main cards that you'll be using throughout the course of the game, and then these cards up here are the landmark cards that you would only play with if you are familiar with the game and you're ready for the advanced version of the game, which honestly doesn't add too terribly much to the game, and it is quite a bit more fun to play with this, so I do recommend moving on to adding this into your games as soon as possible. You do also have a first player marker right here. This is painted wood, and then you do have extra cards that you are going to add if you are playing with a certain number of players. We'll go ahead and set these off to the side for now. How this game is going to work, starting with the first player, they will draft one of the cards out of the market right here, and then you immediately replace it with a new card from the top of the deck. It doesn't matter which one you take. It's not as if this is going to cost you more resources than this card over here. You're not shifting cards down the line or anything of the sorts. You're just simply replacing the card you pick with the card from the top of the draw pile here. So let's cover what are on these cards. Well, there's a number of different things that you want to pay attention to. The first being how many miles long is this strip of card, because what you're doing here thematically is you are engineering and building the Big Sur Highway off the Pacific coast in California, and you're going to see lots of landscape, different land types, and each stretch of highway is going to be a different length, and it's also going to require a different number of resources for you to be able to build that into your highway, which will be in front of each player playing cards down here, obviously not right below the market, but in front of each player. You get the idea. So if I wanted to build this card, I first would have to draft it out of the market, and it would go to my hand, and then I would need lumber, stone, and water in order to build this card into my highway, which is the second step of your turn, and that is optional. Building any number of cards from your hand into your highway using the resources that you have. So let's cover those different resources. First, let's cover about the different landmarks that are on the cards. You're going to have mountains, forests, You've got flowers. You have ocean side, as you can see right here, the beach. And you have fields, the yellow fields over here. Now, some cards are going to have two different types to them. Every card's going to have two types to them, but the 4 mile cards are going to have the same on each side, which that's going to limit how much you can use this card to score, but having it be 4 miles is quite a bit, and we'll cover that when we talk about points here in just a second. There are 5 different resources in the game. You are going to have steel, stone, lumber, water, and engineering. And the reason why I'm pointing to these icons up here on the top, the arrow here indicates what the resource is on the back of the card. Now, how resources work in this game, let's go back to our first card here. I need lumber, stone, and water in order to build this card. There's a number of ways I can get resources in the game. Any card I have in hand can be discarded for the resource that is in the top right, which is also, again, the resource that's on the back. So if I had lumber, stone, and water on different cards that are in my hand, I could discard all those cards for those resources to be able to build this card. Another way that you're going to get resources is on every 1 mile card, there's a resource that's printed in the bottom right. If that card is somewhere in my highway that I've already constructed, I now have that resource permanently for the rest of the game. Now, it only counts for 1. I have 1 engineering resource, so if I needed more than 1 engineering resource on my turn, I would have this one count as 1, and I would need the rest to come from somewhere else. But at least I have this throughout the rest of the entire game. The third way that you are going to get resources, you're going to be discarding cards face up in your own discard pile off to the side of your highway where you're building your cards, and whatever is on top of your discard pile, you will have one of that resource to be able to use on your turn as well. So this is my discard pile. I've got 1 water resource, and going back to our card right here, if this is in my hand, I've got that water taken care of right here. I still need a stone and I still need a lumber, but I don't necessarily need the water because it's right here. Now, immediately once I put a card on top of that, I now have, I don't have that resource anymore. It's now stone. And each resource can only be used 1 time on each turn. So if I'm building more than 1 card, which you can build as many cards as you can afford, but your resources only work 1 time. I'm going to need to have other ways to get my resources to build all the cards that I'm wanting to build. And again, these cards are going to refresh in the market after you draft one and build whatever cards you want to build, placing them face up in your highway line. Now, once you have cards built, so let's say that I have these 2 cards built right here like such, and now it's time for me to build another card, and let's say I have this card and I have all the resources that I need. It's either going to go on the furthest left side of my highway or the furthest right side of my highway. I can't split the 2 cards and put the card in the middle. That's something you cannot do. You got to pick which side it's going to go on. So as you can see, you're going to be building outwards, not inwards, if that makes sense. Now let's talk about scoring and why it matters where you place your cards. This is ultimately a pattern matching game because you are wanting the landscapes to stretch as long as possible. So you can see that I have mountain on this card, and obviously I have mountain. That's the only thing I have on this card. So because mountains stretch across more than 1 card, in this case 2 cards, that's going to score me points. And the way you get the points is how many miles does it stretch on for. In this case, 3 plus 4 is 7. So the mountains are giving me 7 points. Now the forest down here is not giving me any points because it doesn't cross over onto 1 more card. At least 1 more card. It's only on this 1 card, so that is not a scoring stretch for you. You would have to have mountains either be on this card or on the card that you place on this side of it, and then I would get 3 plus whatever the number is on those other cards. Now, it doesn't matter if the landscape is on the top or on the bottom. It just matters if it's somewhere on the card. So in other words, it doesn't matter that the mountains are on 2 different sides, like the mountains are up here, but they're down here. That doesn't matter. It just matters that they're on these 2 different cards and they're adjacent to one another. That is a scoring region. So that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to obviously stretch those scoring regions for as long as possible to get as much points for those cards as you can. And that's going to be where you're going to be getting the majority of your points in this game. Another place where you'll be getting points are your 2-mile cards are always going to come with another scoring condition on them, such as in this case, 1 point per flower card in your highway. Here's a flower card because it obviously has flowers on it. So I would get 1 point for every flower card that I have if this card is in my highway. Doesn't count if it's in my hand or my discard pile. It has to be built into my highway, and now I would get points for that. Now that's the gist of the game, and you will continue to play until this deck runs out, at which point you'll add up your points to see who's the winner. But adding in the landmarks is a lot of fun. How this is going to work, it's going to add an optional third step at the end of every one of your turns, and that is if you fulfill the requirements on one of the 3 landmark cards that are out here, you can claim that card. And so the requirements are typically going to be that you need to have 3 cards of a specific type constructed into your highway. You get to then claim the card. And with it, the condition that's on the card, such as this one says, treat the material located on the backside of the below card as wild. And what that's saying is that when you get one of these landmark cards, you're going to place it above one of your highway cards that you've already built into your highway, such as this card right here. And in this case, it says, treat the material located on the backside of this card below as wild, which in this case is steel, because again, this icon lets me know what's on the backside. So then I could treat steel as wild now that I have Point Lobos on this in my highway because I've claimed it. And then you would automatically replace one from the draw pile to fill up the market there. And so that's what the landmark cards are going to add for you. Now you can only claim one of these on every turn, and you can't put more than one landmark card with a highway card. So you're going to need highway cards to give you space to get landmark cards. But that's pretty much what they add to the game. And again, whoever has the most points is going to be the winner, and that's how you play Big Sur. Let's go back up top and share our thoughts on this one. And we're back, and now we're going to share our thoughts on Big Sur from a gamer and non-gamer's perspective. So Sam, let's just jump right into this. What'd you think about Big Sur?
It was good. I think it took me a little bit to kind of get into what my goals or what my strategy was going to be, but overall it was a really... it's an interesting game. Card games, I think we've mentioned this numerous times, can really be hit or miss. Sometimes they can just be a little too basic, but there really is a lot to this game with cards. It is reminiscent of maybe a tile laying game because of how you're putting everything out. You're making a picture. So yeah. That definitely appeals to us, I would say. And
it's got that visual aspect that I've heard you talk so much about in tile laying games, of this wanting to match the patterns, yes, right? The landscapes. But then you also got to have the resources to be able to build those cards into your highway.
I personally let the picture kind of take over sometimes and forget that, like, I'm trying to get points.
There's some strategy
to it.
I
need it to look pretty.
Yeah, yeah. But the thing about this one that I find so interesting are those resources, because you've got the resource that's on in your cards, right? And you've got the resources that are on your highway that you have built into, those 1 mile segment cards have the resources printed on them. But then you've got the really interesting aspect of what's on top of your discard pile, right? Yeah. And that's ever changing throughout the course of the game. And so there's this revolving door of resources that you have to work with that you've got to manage. What did you think about that?
Yeah, it definitely, there's times you're like, I only need this one thing, and you have to be able to change your strategy. Yeah. But it does help. There are specific cards, and what were they? They gave you abilities.
Oh yeah, like the landmark cards.
Yeah. Yeah. And those are really helpful because I could use some of Lance's resources, and so as you go, you are kind of it is deck building essentially.
Kind of, yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Because you're able to, okay, well, I already have these, so really I'm just looking for the rock to come up every time or something like that.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. And that's kind of what it feels like in the game. You're just like one card away, one resource away from really just unloading like this massive turn. And then, you start to build up another idea of like what you want to do, but you're still only just one resource away. Like I found that happening a lot in this game, and that was kind of a fun tenseness to the game as every card would flip over and fill the market. Oh, that's not what I wanted.
Yeah.
Or, yes, that's it. I just hope nobody takes it from me.
Yeah.
That was a fun aspect of this game. And then also trying to maximize your scoring opportunities with, there's those 2 mile segment cards that would say 1 point for every farm card in your highway. So now I'm wanting to try to get farms, or something along those lines.
Every time I draw one of those, I'm like, that's literally, I have nothing. None of those.
Doesn't work for me at all. Yeah. But no, there's lots of different ways you can go about making your highway in this game and getting your points. And I think that's where the fun in this game lies, are those different branching ways and trying to find out what's going to be the best, maximizing your points for you every time you play this game. So one that you would recommend playing with non-gamers?
Yeah, I think it's a good one for non-gamers. I think it does take a little bit of time just to kind of get used to the game a little bit, but afterwards it is easy to understand.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. Rules are pretty straightforward, but trying to kind of figure out what's the best game plan for this game is not so straightforward.
Yeah.
So the game is Big Sur. It is from 25th Century Games. It is running through a big crowdfunding project that 25th Century Games is putting on, where they are actually crowdfunding 4 different games, and we've had the privilege to be able to preview all 4 of those games. So you want to check out all the videos that we have on these games, first starting here with Big Sur. Leave us some comments down below. Let us know what you think about these games and what you think about 25th Century Games.
Make sure to like and subscribe and push that bell button so you get notifications of all our new content.
I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate, where we try to help gamers find great games to play with non-gamers. We'll catch you next time.